FusionGamers.com.
Only on the 3DO.
On the 3DO, they love to throw in those extra videos.
This game was also on the PS1 and played pretty much the same, but it was made pretty much for the 3DO.
Now this isn't your park.
Yeah, this isn't my actual park, this is just a pre-rendered video.
Yeah, they have one created for each ride so you can kind of preview it and see what it's like.
But my park could look like that someday. Unfortunately, we don't have enough storage space on the 3DO to have that many save files, so...
Yeah, there was a downside to the 3DO as far as storage capacity goes.
Definitely an issue with the system. So, let's check out something different and something that isn't quite as good as this, but definitely took advantage of the 3DO's capabilities.
That's true.
Now,
This is brought to us by Interplay.
and this has got to be the most grandiose developer intro I've ever seen. This was a genre that you saw during this period and wouldn't see again because it really didn't work. The interactive cartoon. Popularized by
Dungeon Lair.
Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that
it.
was
I
it.
couldn't think of the name of it. Dragon's Lair and then Space Ace. And this is an attempt at that. And it's not a real good one. But we're going to give you
It's
an
got some
idea.
decent animation to it.
It does pull off the effect of being a cartoon. So,
I wish there was an option on here where you could just watch the cartoon.
so here we see the intro.
Some angry dragons.
It's always dragons on the 3DO.
Dragons in space. There was a lot of it.
Some guy telling a story. Magician
We seem to
just
kind of be
appears out
going
of
back
nowhere.
and forth here. Space Dragons. Now, there were a lot of sports games. A lot of the EA sports games were on there. The FIFA games. The Madden games. But, again, they came out a little too late to really save the system.
So there were a lot of space dragons on this console.
Yeah. So here we go.
Let's see some of this gameplay.
It's really not much gameplay.
We're in the gameplay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This is essentially...
An adventure you go on. Is it kind of like a point and click?
It's kind of like a choose your own adventure
Choose
game.
your own adventure. That's what I mean.
But there's really only one path to go on, and it's pretty set. Once you play... The problem with a game like this is you play through it once and you figure out all the answers, and then it basically loses its replay.
You're basically watching the cartoon again.
You know, that's why these games, I guess, don't hold up real well.
Seems like there was a lot of backtracking too.
That and it's pretty lame.
It's something different.
No, yeah.
There's a couple of things about the 3DO we haven't talked about yet. One being the accessories, the many different ones that you could get for it.
Like, what kind of accessories are we talking about, Doc?
You had your normal gamepads, wireless controllers, different things like that, light guns, just like Nintendo. But you also had things that were a little bit different. We talked about the mouse already. A steering wheel. I don't know if we'd ever seen steering wheels on other consoles by this time, but
I'm not sure if there were
You
any
know, I
out
don't
on the
think of one.
the 16-bit systems. Might have, but you know, this had it early on in the system's life and was, you know, planned to be with it.
flight sticks. We played a couple games where that would have been usable, and I've also read that there's an SNES adapter where you could use your SNES remote in lieu of using a 3DO remote because it would be cheaper. And one button extra, which I've also seen that in other systems, even as far back as the last generation, where you could use a PlayStation remote for your GameCube or your Xbox. We also have to talk a little bit about the expansions that came with it. You could get a memory expansion that would go up to 256K, and the 3D only had a, what was it, 32K memory, I believe.
Yeah, that was never released in America, though. It was only released in Japan, so in America you were pretty much screwed with the onboard memory, and once you filled it up, you had to basically delete files off, which that memory card would have been really nice, but it was $100. So,
and we also,
I've been attacked.
A lot of the accessories that were first said that they were going to make never came out because a lot of the companies dropped out. But there was a lot of talk about moving to 64-bit.
Yeah, when they saw the impending 32-bit systems coming, they decided that they needed to upgrade the system, and it was completely made up and ready to be launched pretty much.
But by that time, too little, too late, as we see over and over again with the 3DO.
Yeah.
It's either too little, too late, or too expensive, and we don't.
Too expensive and too early.
Too early, exactly.
Let's look at these barren rocks. So you can see this is mildly engaging, but again, not a system seller, not something you're going to rush out and tell your friends about. In fact,
you have to have your killer app.
I'm a little embarrassed to be playing this, so I think we're going to move on.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan to us.
But first, we're going to see the blind beggar.
Literally named Blind Beggar.
That's what he goes by.
Give him sight.
Yes, we will give him sight.
You healed me. When the town hears of your powers, the Guild Lords will have to give you.
Reminds me of David the Gnome. Do you remember that show?
Good job, Jesus.
And who really listens to the blind gnome? Like, oh, the blind gnome recommends him. Blind beggar,
he's
whatever
well
the hell
respected.
he is. All right, enough of that game.
You just healed him.
Let's move on.
Yeah, he lost his respect, man.
So,
we are going to be alone in the dark.
We're looking at a very early survival horror game before...
Probably it is the first survival horror game.
Before we heard of such a thing.
Before the term was created.
It really set the standard in a lot of ways. What would be camera angles, which probably was not on purpose, but because of limitations. Alone in the Dark, terrible U-Bool movie. Terrible.
Yeah, let's not talk about the movie.
Yeah.
What movie? There was no movie.
There was a movie, and it
had nothing to do with this game.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
Didn't do the game justice.
Now they have tried to reinvent this game a couple times. It just hasn't worked. But this classic game is hailed as really a turning point. It's very atmospheric, very different.
Look at
it's a Lovecraftian type.
I kind of like the cartoon animation too.
Yeah, and here's another trick to accommodate for the technology. Give it a kind of cartoony looking background.
Absolutely.
And it blends together pretty well.
The aesthetic choices are really nice in this game. I really like it. The sound quality is good.
Yeah, let's hear that. Let's hear that sound. There's some good voice acting. Really good motion capturing here. And you see, this is from Infogrames, and it must be something about the French at this time that really had motion capturing down. I don't know why. There's this game. We were looking at that Kingdom game earlier, and also the Flashback and what's the other one that's like that? Out of This World.
With our filmmakers and television producers, and in fact people and talent in the music business, we find it possible for us to tell our stories, to develop our drama, to develop our characters, because of the graphics power. It's not just the numbers, and it's not just all of these boxes and what they contain. It really represents a very meaningful watershed for an entire software industry, and that is the software industry in Hollywood.
DJ Gamers.com.